Okay, I'm, I'm Anna DeLoach, and I'm on the REEF Board of Trustees. Do you want me to talk a little bit about I guess,
Talk a little bit about your background and how you got to diving. What were your early days and how you progressed into diving?
Okay, I started out, I learned to swim when I was young, but I was afraid of the ocean, and that came from my mother, who had a deathly fear of the water in the ocean, so we weren't allowed to do anything more than wade ankle deep. And I would stay on the boat when my friends went diving, and we were up in Jacksonville, and I'd stay on the boat and they went diving, and I'd watch them go down and wait 45 minutes, 55 minutes before they came back up. And one day I was sitting on the back platform, and the captain of the boat said, "Put this mask on and just hang off the ladder and watch the divers go down." And I watched the three divers, my friends, go down, and a big school of barracuda peeled off and followed them down into the deep and disappeared. And I immediately said, I'm going to try this. And that was the start. I went back into town, signed up, learned to dive, and became instantly obsessed with fish. I was a computer engineer at the time and spent every bit of time that I had free diving. I volunteered at the local dive shop, and that was it. I never looked back.
And how did you make this a livelihood that you ended up in?
Well, actually, when Ned and I married, Ned, my husband's author of the co-author of the Reef Fish ID books, and I retired from my computer job from the computer industry, and started traveling with him. And I had been involved with Reef. I attended the very first Reef field survey in 1993, so I was into counting fish and cataloging fish and surveying. And Ned and I, we were living in the Bahamas for a little while and worked on the Reef Fish behavior book. And behavior kind of became our thing, and it isn't lost on us how lucky we are to be able to take something that we're so passionate about and turn it into our lives.
How many books have you all published?
New World Publications has published 11 Fish ID books now, and right now we're working on the Reef Fish Behavior second edition. The first edition has been out of print for about 3 years, and we're working on renewing it, bringing it up to date with all the latest information that's known out there about reef fish and reef fish behavior, and that will be out sometime around the end of next year.
And how have you seen the diving industry changing over the years?
I think the biggest change that I've seen is digital cameras. I think digital cameras have breathed life back into the dive industry. Everyone, we all love to dive, but there's a certain sector of us who are really into surveying fish and counting fish and learning to ID fish. And, that's our big thing, is that if you learn to know the names of the things that you're diving with, it makes everything more interesting. But what I found is when the digital camera revolution came about, where people could take the small snappies, we call them, small cameras underwater with housings, and start taking pictures of fish and the reef, and you could go home with 10 beautiful pictures that you could show your family and your coworkers. I think it revolutionized. I see so many more people interested, and I think that had a big part of it. And it really helped our surveying. It really improved fish surveying, because once we could take a small camera underwater and actually take a picture and verify the fish that if we had a mystery fish, or if we weren't quite certain of an idea of the fish, we have that digital and picture, and cameras have become a tool of surveyors now too. So I think small digital cameras really revolutionized a lot.
And where do you see the industry overall heading?
Well,
do you see it growing? Do you see it
I
collapsing?
It seems like it's becoming an older sport, and I don't know if that is because it costs more. It's a lot of money for a family, for a family of four to go diving. It costs a lot of money to travel, to buy the equipment and dive, and you just don't, when we were younger and learning to dive, it was such an exciting, almost like an extreme sport if you were a diver. And now it's so easy, which it's kind of a good thing and a bad thing. Diving has become so easy to do that it's not as exciting for the people who really want that extreme sport, but it's more accessible, yet it's not, because of the costs.
Interesting. What are some of the areas that you think are best for diving, for folks who are looking to get into a diving career? Where should they look?
Oh gosh.
I know
But
that's a very open-ended question. I could go on.
I think education is a big deal with the oceans right now. I think there's a lot of room to educate, and it's more important now than ever before for people to understand the oceans, because we know so much more now about how much this is a living, breathing planet, and our oceans have so much to do with our terrestrial lives. And maybe education. Maybe there's a lot more there to educate the public, the people who can't dive, about what's
So
there.
you've seen
what's underwater.
ecotourism, that type of thing
Ecotourism.
is
If there was a
rise.
way to make the oceans more accessible to people at a better price, I think the Keys are fantastic, because a family can drive down here. You don't have to fly. You can drive down to the Keys. You can make it a vacation. There's snorkeling. There's not just diving. There's a lot of snorkeling down here. So we're in the Keys, by the way. I didn't know if you could the context of where we are, but
Yes.
yeah, this is a great place. This is a great place. Ecotourism is great here.
Any final thoughts as we're wrapping up here before our next lecture here? Anything you would say, do this as a future someone getting into the dive business?
Getting into the dive business, again,
Any aspect of the dive business.
Again, conservation and education are the keys here. Anyone who can get into a field that's tied into conservation, the ecotourism again, the rangers who take people out and snorkeling at Penny Camp, or anyone who can take kids out, education for kids is a big deal. That's where I think it is right now.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Okay, thank you.